welcome back to Rachel Embella Crafts. It's Rachel here. So for today's video I am going to be showing you how I've made some of my recent embellishments for my boho journal. I was inspired by a video that I saw on YouTube a couple of days ago, so I will link the original video into the description box below this video. Okay, so what we're going to do for today's video is make a little notebook to go inside a boho journal, and we're going to do it using the scraps of sari material and boho embellishments and lace that I've got here, and some book pages. So what you will need to make this today is 2 book pages, some scrap papers, anything will do, lined paper, anything that's just to go in and be written on, and then a few different types of, a few different patterned materials. They don't have to be sari, you can use normal materials, you can use anything, just don't go pinching anybody's silk blouse or anything like that, or I'll be in trouble. And also snippets of lace would be great as well. So they don't need to be large sections either, you know, if you've got smaller pieces like this, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is, I've taken this out of my book because it's out of my glue book, that's why there's marks on it, but that doesn't matter, we're going to be doing that with it anyway, and it's mostly glued down, sorry, excuse me. So first thing I'm going to do is just glue down the rest of the edges that are not yet fixed, so that is then going to stay in place, and it'll give us a nice thick cover to work with then. So I hope everybody's well, I hope you're all okay. Thank you so much for joining me again today and tuning in. A huge thank you to all my regular watchers and to any new subscribers watching. It's always great to have you join us. I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so that's glued in place. Next thing what you might want to do now is just ink around the whole of the edges, anything that might be on show. So again, just stick a bit of paper underneath and smush around with the smushy brush or your dabber, or however you refer to it, and then just look at anything that might be on show, both sides, because it's in and out. Just make sure you've got no glue on your paper from where we've just glued it together. And some of the book will show through, the book page will show through, so obviously just be thoughtful about what choice of paper that you're using. So make sure that you don't have any dodgy words or anything like that on there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is fold in a flap. So that, again, you can make your own dimensions for this. There's no hard and fast rules, there's no measurements that are ideal or not ideal. It's entirely up to you. So I'm quite happy with that there, and then I'm going to bring over this side and I'm just going to fold it just short of that fold there, so that we've got room here then for that to go down. Alright, yeah, let's grab that and let's just put that down there like that. Okay, so that's the shape of your notebook. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do now is we're going to start adding our fabrics. Now, when I did it the first time, I did make a couple of mistakes, so just a few things you to be mindful of here now. I started on the inside and then realised that that wasn't very smart, because when it came to me stitching around the outside, I then stitched my pocket shut and I had to cut that open then with a craft knife. Okay, yes, you know, it's not a major thing, but it wasn't ideal. Your stitching is going to be on show, so you may either want to use what's the word for it? Like a cream coloured stitching if you don't want to see it, or if you are not worried about seeing it, go for something that's going to have a bit of a design. It's meant to be slightly rough and shabby looking, because that is just the design of the booklet. So don't, you know, we're not going for like A grade stitching or anything here. We do just want running stitches to attach it, but just, you know, obviously remember you are going to be able to see it on the other side. So in light of the mistakes I made earlier on, I'm going to do the outside and the back first, because as I say, I did make a few little errors earlier on, and I thought I should have done this first. So first of all, I'm just going to place you know, and work with what you've got, whatever scraps you've got there. You know, there's no waste when it comes to this material, and they don't have to fit perfectly. If they do, great, but if they don't panic. So I found that the best way to do this earlier was to just put a little glob here and a little glob here, and that just held my fabric in place. Obviously you don't want too much glue with if you are using sari, because you don't want it to seep through or to mark. So just hold that in place there, and then securing that, then you can then see to cut. But I'm going to stitch with it on there first, just so that I don't accidentally cut it too short. And then I'm going to add this one over the top. And I'm just going to take this over to the machine now, and I'm just going to do a running stitch around the outside of that. So won't be a second. Okay, so I've added a stitch now around the front cover of the booklet, as you can see, and I've just done a bit of a decorative stitch on the top. It's just should make it easier now to be able to cut your fabric to the size of the notebook now that it is stitched in place. I did do it the other way around earlier on. I just found that I was leaving myself a bit short then, because I was obviously pulling the fabric quite taut, and it bounced back then, so I was left with a little corner where I didn't have enough. So if that does happen, you might just want to, and again, you know, don't be afraid to leave some of these edges a little bit frayed. It hasn't got to be perfectly cut. That is kind of the nature of the fabric and of the boho. Okay, so the next bit we're going to do now is going to turn over and do the back. So that's the front flap done there. Now you can stitch there if you want to secure that one to that one, or whatever you put across, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to add a little bit of trim to that later. I'm going to do a pocket now for the back. So let's see what we've got here. That's quite nice there. I quite like that. I think if I add it in that corner there. Now obviously if you use glue to affix your fabric to the paper at the front to hold it in place, oh actually I like that side even better, be careful at the back if you're going to do that, because this is going to be a pocket, so don't go sticking a glob of glue in the centre. You might just want to try and hold this in place when you go to your machine. Okay, so that's the back pocket stitched on. We're just going to cut that fabric into shape now. Okay, so the next bit now is to look at the inside. So we're going to make a pocket on the inside, and then we're going to add a flap here, and then we're going to add our pages here. So the next thing that we're going to look for is the pocket. So I picked that piece out there because I quite like that, and I think that's going to be nice and bright and colourful. So I'm just going to go over to the machine and stitch that. Okay, so while at the machine, I've added a flip to the back, flap, and I've sewn in my pocket. That's at the back. So now the last thing that I need to do now, excuse me, is to add in my notebook pages. Now you can do that by, you can hand, as you would when you bind a journal, you can hand stitch it in, or you can run it through the machine, which is what I'm about to do. But yeah, one of the two is probably better, just to make sure that they stay secure in place. So I'm just going to stitch those in. Okay, so that's that bit done. I've stitched that in now, so that's nice and secure. That's not going to go anywhere. And then the last piece then that we want to look at is the flap on the front. Okay, so there we go. I've stitched that around now. I'm just going to cut that short. Go. Okay, so that is your notebook made. Now obviously you can add all sorts of things to this to embellish it. You can put a little bit of sari or a little bit of lace around it to just tie it up, but obviously the idea of it is meant to go into a pocket in the journal, or you know, on the front of your journal, so you don't want to make it too bulky. You could also put a eyelet in there, and then put a little bit of thread around it, or a little bit of string, and then of course you could embellish it if you wanted to, but again, just remembering it needs to be quite slim in order to not bulk out your journal too much. So you've got the flip there. You can either pop that over your writing thing. You've got somewhere then you can pop something in there. You could pop something up under there if you want, because I haven't secured mine, although I have put a bit of glue on there. And you can pop something then in the pocket at the back. But yeah, so nice and simple. So there we are, we've got our little notebook embellishments. Okay, so the second thing that I'm going to show you today is how to make this flower altered paperclip. This is not my idea. Again, this is something that I saw on YouTube. Just want to be clear about that. It's a really simple idea. The only difference is that I'm going to stitch mine where the original video that I saw it from, which I will tag below, they used a glue gun to put all the pieces into place. But I just found using the needle, it just made it a little bit easier for me to catch hold of it. So that is basically what we're going to try and make. And on the back, it's just an altered paperclip. Okay, so first and foremostly what we need is some scrapbook paper and your paperclip. So we're going to pop that into place, place that onto your paper, and then fold it over. Now, it might be easier actually to fold it to the size you want first. So we don't want it to be too small. But you know, you'll work that out with trial and error yourself there. Let's put the big piece out and a little bit in, I think. Oh my word. Okay, there we go. So paperclip on. And then we are going to glue that into place. Obviously, your choice of glues. I think it's better to use the glue stick to glue the paper, and then just for a little bit of extra security, you may then want to put a bit of your stronger glue. So I'll use Fabri-Tac, or you can use hot glue just to keep your paperclip in place. But you know, it's not overly heavy, the flower, so and it'll be inside your journal, so I can't imagine it going anyway. But okay, so that's first things first. Let's secure that paperclip in there. Okay, good. So he's not going anywhere. And then we're going to cut it to size. Let me just cut that off there because I don't need it to be that big. Okay, and then if you've got any other bits, because obviously I folded it over, so just make sure everything's glued down well. So it's nice and solid. And that bit at the back. Okay, so there we go. We've now got a nice solid bit of paper. Now the next thing you might want to do is just ink all around this, just in case that you, you know, any of it is on show, or pokes out, and at least then it looks the part, doesn't it, because it's got a bit of ink on there. There we go. So just cover that over there. Excellent. And then perhaps just a bit on the back, because obviously that bit does sometimes get seen. Okay, marvellous. Right, so the next thing that we're going to do, I've already cut mine ready. Being a bit of a Blue Peter fan as I am, you're going to want to get some scraps of fabric, and they need to be, you know, approximately squares. I think mine are here, they're not all the same size. I've just literally gone, you know, grabbed whatever, because they are the scraps. But they're about, what are we looking at, 5 centimetres by 5 centimetres, or I think it's like 1.5 inches. Let's just double check that. Nope, they're not the 2 inches. Right, so they're about 2 inch to 1.5 inches to 2 inches square. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick 6. So I'm just going to go with a nice array of colours here. They don't have to be the same, or they could be the same. Actually, do you know what? I think I'm going to use all the colours. Let's go crazy, shall we? Okay. And then you want your needle to hand. So I've threaded one up ready. Here we go. With some just colourful thread, and I've doubled it over and I've got my knot in it ready, because I'm going to just want to grab that in a second. So the idea of what we're going to do is you take your square of fabric, you make kind of a triangle shape with it, and then you fold it over again, and you should end up with a bit of a scruffy fluted top to that. And this is simple as that. So that's my first petal done. So literally all I'm doing with the needle and thread is just holding that in place, because the first time I tried it, I was trying to hold all these bits of bouncy fabric together and it just wasn't working for me. So I thought, right, I know the answer to this. I will use a needle and thread. So you haven't got to be the world's greatest stitcher. No, that's still the wrong word. Sewer to put this together. I'm literally just putting in 2 little tack-in stitches. So there we go. So that's holding that in place now. When you're using, if you're going to use your needle and thread, now you could do this with glue and glue it straight on, but I don't want to do it with glue because I think it's going to be a bit messy, because I'm very messy. So when you put your stitches in, just keep them towards the bottom corner here so that they're kind of like out the way. And then we're going to take our next one now. So again, doing the same thing, just a rough kind of triangle and then another rough kind of triangle. And the rougher you fold, the better, really, because it gives you more petals, if that makes sense. So we're literally now going to just put this one over the top of that one. And again, it's just this corner here at the bottom that we're trying to kind of keep in line. And I'm now going to run my needles through both of them just to hold them in place. And I'm just going to put 2 little tack-in stitches into that again. So there's one there. There we go. So now they're in place. So the next colour I'm going to use, oh, don't overthink this, Rach. Right, let's take pink. Obviously, if you've got a nice bit of trim on it, try if you can to get that into your fold, just so that it's a bit pretty on show, because obviously this is an embellishment, so you want to make the most of any bling that you've got on your materials. Just be really careful not to stick that in my finger. Gosh, I don't know what thread this is, but it runs well. I was using something yesterday, quite thick cotton stuff, and it kept catching on everything. It was getting on my nerves in the end. Right, but this stuff is good. Okay, so that's that one sewn in place. And then we're going to do it again. I think we'll use this blue. And as you can see, I've purposely selected very different kinds of materials here, just to show you that any of them will work. So, you know, from the rather thick sari materials through to some very thin viscosy type of material. They will all do the job. So again, perhaps time to read the dressing up box, if you have one of those in your house. I know we used to have one when I was a kid. I used to love going to my best friend's house because she had the most amazing dressing up box. Oh my goodness, it was awesome. And we used to spend hours running around in her mum's old silk scarves and things like that. My gosh, when I think back, those fabrics now, what I could do with those fabrics. They were great days, the 80s. Okay, so there's that one there. And then this one here. Don't be put off from working with a boho journal if you don't have, excuse me, if you don't have, you know, lots of the lovely trims and things that we see the girls using, and that they're very often on Facebook. You know, if you're not able to get hold of those, you know, due to location or postage or cost, there are lots of other things that you could use. So for instance, the cover of the boho journal I'm working on at the moment, I embellished the top of that with fabric that I bought in a charity shop. It was a scarf, you know, just a lady's dressy scarf, and I paid 50p for it. and I know we've all got those in our cupboards. So, you know, if you've got one that you don't particularly like very much, or you've tried to wash it and it's gone out of shape or is a bit funny, fine, good, cut it up, use it in your boho journals. They're perfect for it. They're great for trim. You can use them for making ruffles. You can use them for edging, all sorts of things. So you know, don't ever think, oh, I can't do this because I haven't got that, or you'd be amazed at the things that you find just looking around your house. Or again, if you go to thrift stores or charity shops, you know, looking for things like old bags, you know, ladies' dressy bags. They very often have like the ties on them, so you can use those if you can't get any sari silk ties. They also will have beads and embellishments on them sometimes, so you can, you know, unpick those and reuse them. You know, so just kind of getting back to the whole thing of what our junk journaling is about. It's reusing things, isn't it? And turning something that perhaps somebody considers junk into something new and great. So there we go. So there is my flower. So I'm just going to make sure now that I've secured any edging here from the back, the last piece to the first piece, because we don't want it flopping open on the paper clip. There we go. Gosh, I don't know where all the light's gone. It's gone really dark in here now. Okay, so hopefully now you can see, excuse me, hopefully now you can see my stitches are very small and they literally just run around the base, and I'm really not worried about any of that because I'm going to put a button in the middle of it. So that's the last bit now of this. So I've got a nice glass one there I might use. I quite like that one actually. Or you could use, you know, something with a floral design on, or if you've got, again, going back to, you know, old clothes, you know, we're always putting clothes into the thrift bags. Take the buttons off things if you're not going to use them, or if you're going to throw them out, something's no good. If you've got a set of coloured buttons on there, take the buttons off. You know, anything like that works. So I'm just going to stitch this on here. Okay, so there's our flower in place. Now all we need to do is attach it to the paper clip. Now you can glue it on the back if you've got hot glue, that's fine. My preference though, again, is if I can, I'd like to try and stitch it onto the paper, just because I know it's not going anywhere then. If you are going to stitch it on, just one or two things to be mindful of. Don't stitch anything where the paper clip is, because obviously bear in mind you're going to want to be hooking that over something, and the last thing you want then is stitching in the way of that. So if you are going to stitch onto the paper, aim for either to the left or to the right of the paper clip. And there we go. Now obviously if you do stitch it on, you just want to reinforce with some glue underneath here, that's fine. But that's really not going anywhere. That's really firmly attached now to the back of the paper clip. But there you go, nice and simple, as easy as that. Yeah, one slightly bigger there and one slightly smaller there. That's how we make our flower paper clips. Okay, thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back with you again very soon. Take care now, bye.